AirPods Max are Apple's first premium over-the-ear headphones. And as you might hope, they carry over many popular features from AirPods and AirPods Pro and improve on them while bringing along a couple major improvements of their own. Some of these features include spatial audio support with head tracking, noise cancellation and transparency modes, hands-free Siri, head detection, automatic device switching, and intuitive playback controls. Of course, the premium nature of these headphones is not only reflected in their features, but also in their design, sound quality, and most obviously, the $549 price tag. Unfortunately, despite what that high price tag might lead you to expect, these headphones are sadly not perfect. And after wearing them over the last 10 months, at home, on the go, and even at work, I've found some issues that I think are worth sharing if you're considering purchasing them yourself. So getting right into things, the first thing we should talk about is design. AirPods Max come in 5 colors and are made out of aluminum and stainless steel for the ear cups and connecting telescoping arms, as well as the underlying frame. These connect to a very sturdy headband covered in a smooth rubberized finish. Within the top of the headband is a canopy, which is made out of a fabric weaved in a breathable mesh pattern. In either ear cup is a firm and removable magnetic cushion. On the outside of each is an array of several microphones that total to 8 altogether. These serve a variety of purposes, from picking up the Siri wake command to noise cancelling and transparency mode. Also on the top of the right ear cup you'll find a digital crown and a single button. The digital crown is essentially an upscaled version of the one in the Apple Watch, meant specifically for controlling volume, pausing, and skipping and rewinding tracks. The adjacent button is used to quickly switch between ANC and transparency modes. In combination with one another, these controls make it so easy to listen to your music and leave the outside world when you want to, while still being able to just jump back in whenever something might need your attention. Now, as sophisticated as all of the rest of those details might sound, all these materials come together to form a very minimalistic design, which is very typical for Apple. While this is purely subjective, I find them to be quite attractive and premium looking without looking over the top or like they're trying to draw attention. Unfortunately, having this design also points out a typical problem for Apple, which is the compromise of practical features in favor of aesthetics. For AirPods Max, the biggest example here is that there's no way to conveniently fold these headphones up for travel, so they take up a ton of space in your bag. Instead, all Apple provides is the case that is the biggest misnomer in consumer tech, the smart case. It's made out of silicone, lined in a suede-like material, and covers frighteningly little of the headphone's exterior. Additionally, there's really nothing smart about it. It's simply a bad case that offers no protection or features that, quite frankly, is a little insulting when I think about it. I mean, $549 and this is all you get? At that point, I would rather a lower price so I can just buy a third-party case myself. Moving on to what is arguably the most important aspect of the design, we have to talk about comfort. AirPods Max feel as you might expect when you consider the mostly aluminum and steel construction, and that's to say, heavy. Generally, I found that wearing AirPods Max for a long period of time can be somewhat uncomfortable after several hours. I will say that over time, I think that they have gotten slightly more comfortable, but naturally I can't help but feel somewhat disappointed. Again, considering Apple's asking price, I'd have expected these to be the most comfortable headphones I'd ever own, but it's unfortunately just not the case. Of course, when talking about the fit and comfort, I also need to talk about the ear cups themselves. The ear cups are made of a dense and supportive material and covered in a fabric that's color matched to the headphones. It's here that I feel like Apple has done particularly good work. Over the last 10 months, I feel like the ear cups have done an excellent job creating a seal during wear, while still being comfortable around my ears and against my skin. My only issue here is when it comes to wearing glasses. I have more than 5 pairs of glasses, all with distinct and different designs, and I just can't seem to get comfortable wearing the majority of them with AirPods Max, outside of a single pair that happens to have very thin and flexible temples. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that these won't be comfortable if you do wear glasses, but I definitely recommend trying AirPods Max on just so you can make sure that they'll work for you. Now, the last thing I want to mention when it comes to the comfort is the canopy within the headband. While it's very nice feeling in and of itself, I don't think it's done much to make these feel any more comfortable or lighter compared to other headphones. And unfortunately, I just think AirPods Max are just a bit too heavy, and it just seems that the canopy just can't compensate for that. Now, let's move on to a different kind of wear. And by that I mean wear and tear. There are a couple things I want to touch on here, namely the overall sturdiness of the design, potential discoloration, loss of comfort, and any audio issues I might have experienced during ownership. Regarding fragility, I'm happy to say that thanks to their high build quality, the AirPods Max have held up very well in my opinion. I haven't noticed any creaking or flexing, and all the buttons feel and work as they should. I was also worried about losing some resistance in the telescoping arms, but they continue to work like new with just the perfect amount of resistance for easily adjusting the fit of the headphones without making any compromises on keeping everything in place. Now, as it pertains to comfort and how it's changed over the last couple months, I found that there's really been no decrease in overall comfort, and I feel that the ear cushions have maintained their ability to create a good seal against the sides of my head, and that the headband has remained just as sturdy as it was on day one. Discoloration, on the other hand, is something to keep an eye out for. Specifically, it seems the more lightly colored models of AirPods Max have a tendency to show some discoloration, and the white model I have here is probably the worst offender. Despite my best efforts to keep the canopy and the ear cushions clean, they do appear to be yellowing gradually. I've tried cleaning them by following Apple's instructions online, but I haven't been able to get them to look how they did on the day I got them. Fortunately, the non-fabric parts seem to be holding up just fine, and honestly, I can't say I'm too surprised that something covered in white fabric might not look so great after 10 months. But it's definitely something to consider when you are making your choice for a color, and in hindsight, I probably would have gone with the space gray AirPods Max. Next, I want to talk about battery life. And even after a year, I've found that AirPods Max have had exceptional battery life. I've easily been able to approach, if not hit, Apple's advertised 20 hours of listening time, regardless of whether I'm using ANC or not. Admittedly, I've not kept super thorough track of this, but for context, I have 9-hour workdays, about 8 of which I have AirPods on for, and I have no problem working 2 days and starting a third before I get a low battery warning. And fortunately, even when they do have to charge, I find that an hour or two pretty much brings them to 100%. My only gripes regarding the charging and battery situation echo the complaints of many others who have already reviewed AirPods Max, and that's the fact that putting them to sleep on demand means you need to put them in the not-so-smart case. Equally as annoying is that, for some reason, Apple is still clinging on to using the absolutely useless lightning cable that they've already moved away from with so many of their other products. Now, to move on to the arguably most important aspect of these headphones, let's talk about sound, active noise canceling, and spatial audio. Regarding sound quality, in one word, I would say that the sound is crisp. I acknowledge that I'm not an audio expert, but I found that no matter what I'm listening to at what volume, the highs, mids, and lows all sound super clear. I found the bass to be very rich but not overpowering, even in more bass-heavy music and movies. And since I've had these, I've also found that AirPods Max produce such a great sense of separation between sounds, even on some really busy songs or scenes with lots of different instruments and noises. During my use, I've come to love being able to discern all sorts of different details in the audio, whether it be during a movie, a podcast, or a song. And in general, I think that AirPods Max sounds so good that listening to some of my favorite songs and movies have felt like a whole new experience when I listen to them with AirPods Max. Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't also talk about AirPods Max active noise canceling quality. Ever since I've gotten AirPods Pro, I've just believed that ANC is just one of those features you experience once and can't live without after. And I'm happy to say that ANC works even better on AirPods Max. I've used ANC in all sorts of places, from being in the car or on the train to walking down the busy New York City streets, or even the office and in cafes, and with just the tap of a button I can tune out the entire noisy world around me in a way that brings out the best in what I'm listening to and further highlights the impressive fidelity of AirPods Max. Unfortunately, it's not perfect, as the only weakness with ANC that I have is when it comes to handling the sound of talking. Sadly, it seems that voices tend to come through just too easy, and I find it can be a bit distracting at times. On the flip side of the noise canceling is transparency, which I think is flawless in my opinion. The quality of the microphones in AirPods Max is excellent, and that means that the outside world sounds so incredibly crisp that I often forget that the sound is being digitally passed through to my ears when I do use it. Of course, both of these modes are made even better when you can switch so easily between them using the dedicated button that Apple added on AirPods Max. Now, moving on to the final subtopic within sound quality, let's talk about spatial audio. Spatial audio is a really cool feature, especially during supported movies. But when it comes to listening to Dolby Atmos music, the experience is very much middling. Some songs sound great with great separation and very interesting sensations thanks to dynamic head tracking. But many other songs, however, just sound more quiet and, dare I say, worse than their stereo counterparts. That said, there already seems to be a ton of support for Dolby Atmos by artists across all sorts of genres in Apple Music. So while it's not perfect now, I'm optimistic that this experience will get better and more consistent as time goes on. To wrap things up, I so badly want to recommend AirPods Max. They carry over so many great features that AirPods Pro and AirPods have been loved for and elevate them. And the sound quality never ceases to delight me across movies, music, and podcast. I mean, there are times where it truly feels like I'm listening to a song for the first time all over again upon hearing them in AirPods Max. But there are just too many compromises to comfort and portability when Apple is seeking over $500 for these. As such, I can't wholeheartedly recommend them. Now that said, I do think you should absolutely buy them if you come across them on sale or open box. And I'd even recommend buying them pre-owned, but admittedly, there seem to be a lot of very good fakes on the market, so I can't say it's worth the risk. So that about wraps it up for today's video. If you like it. And if you loved it, consider subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one.